Well, she must have dumped him or he wouldn't be so depressed.
Yeah, that's it.
For years, Jonathan Taylor Thomas was one of the most beloved faces on television. As the charming and witty Randy Taylor on Home Improvement, he captured the hearts of millions across America. With his boyish smile, quick humor, and undeniable talent, he quickly became the poster child of 1990s family sitcoms. Young fans idolized him, magazines couldn't get enough of him, and Hollywood was ready to make him its next big superstar. But then, just as his fame reached its peak, Jonathan Taylor Thomas vanished from the spotlight without a trace. At the height of his success, he walked away from Home Improvement, Hollywood, and everything that made him famous. Fans were left stunned, wondering why someone with so much talent and opportunity would turn his back on it all. Was it fame fatigue? Was he running from something deeper? Or did he simply want to live life on his own terms? Over the years, rumors swirled. Claims of feuds with co-stars, secret struggles, and a possible disillusionment with fame. While many former child stars fell victim to the dark side of Hollywood, Jonathan's story took a different, quieter turn. He didn't spiral into scandal or addiction. He simply disappeared, choosing a life far from cameras and flashing lights. But now, decades later, fans are finally piecing together the truth about what really happened to Jonathan Taylor Thomas. From his sudden exit to his mysterious reappearances and the life he built away from fame, the story is far more surprising and bittersweet than anyone imagined. Before Jonathan Taylor Thomas became a household name, he was just another kid with big dreams and a love for performing. Born on September 8, 1981, in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, Jonathan Drew Taylor grew up in a supportive family that encouraged his talents. His father, a sales manager, and his mother, a social worker, noticed early on that Jonathan had a natural charisma and an ease in front of the camera. At a young age, he showed an unusual ability to memorize lines, convey emotion, and connect with audiences, qualities that would soon set him apart from other child actors. Jonathan's family eventually moved to Sacramento, California, where he began pursuing acting more seriously. He appeared in commercials and small television roles, gaining experience and building confidence with each performance. By the early 1990s, his talent was impossible to ignore. Auditions for television shows and films became more frequent, and industry professionals quickly saw that he had a rare combination of charm, intelligence, and professionalism. He wasn't just cute or photogenic. He had presence, timing, and a depth that made him memorable. Then, in 1991, his big break came. The role of Randy Taylor on the hit sitcom Home Improvement. Playing the middle son of Tim the Toolman Taylor, Jonathan brought wit, sarcasm, and a touch of mischief to the character. His ability to deliver clever lines with perfect timing quickly made him a fan favorite, and audiences across the country tuned in each week to watch Randy's interactions with his family. While Tim Allen's character provided comedic chaos, Jonathan's Randy often served as the sharp, grounded voice of reason, a dynamic that resonated with both young viewers and adults. As the show's popularity grew, so did Jonathan's fame. He became a media sensation, appearing on magazine covers, talk shows, and interviews. Around the same time, he began branching into film, appearing in movies like Man of the House and Tom and Huck, and lending his voice to Disney's iconic The Lion King as young Simba. Each project showcased his versatility and solidified his place as one of the most talented young actors of his generation. Despite all the success, the pressures of fame were intense. Long shooting schedules, promotional events, and public appearances left little time for a normal childhood. Friends and co-stars recall how Jonathan handled it all with remarkable maturity, often discussing the importance of education and personal growth. Even at such a young age, he understood that Hollywood could be fleeting and that life outside of fame was equally important. By the mid-1990s, Jonathan Taylor Thomas was more than a television star. He was a symbol of an entire generation's childhood. His charm, talent, and professionalism made him beloved by millions. Yet beneath the surface, the young actor began questioning the path he was on. The fame, the constant scrutiny, and the relentless schedule were starting to weigh on him, planting the seeds for a life-altering decision that would surprise the world and change the course of his career forever. By the late 1990s, Jonathan Taylor Thomas had reached a level of fame few child actors ever achieve. Millions of fans adored him for his role as Randy Taylor on Home Improvement, and his film credits only added to his growing star power. Yet, behind the smiles and magazine covers, Jonathan was beginning to feel the weight of an unusual reality. He was growing up in public, and the world's expectations were starting to feel suffocating. As he entered his mid-teens, Jonathan began to question what he truly wanted from life. Acting had brought him incredible opportunities, but it also demanded sacrifices, long hours on set, endless media appearances, and the constant scrutiny of fans and tabloids left little room for a normal adolescence. Unlike most teenagers, he couldn't simply hang out with friends, attend school events without being noticed, or experience everyday teenage freedoms without the eyes of the world following him. The pressures were constant, and even the fame he had once craved began to feel like a cage. In 1998, at the height of his Home Improvement popularity, Jonathan made a decision that stunned Hollywood. He chose to leave the show. While many expected him to continue riding the wave of fame, he announced that he wanted to focus on his education and take a step back from acting. Interviews at the time revealed a thoughtful young man who valued learning and personal growth over celebrity. He expressed a desire to experience life outside of Hollywood, to attend college, broaden his horizons, and prepare for adulthood on his own terms. The move was met with mixed reactions. Fans were disappointed and confused, magazines speculated endlessly, and Hollywood insiders wondered if the decision would harm his career. But Jonathan remained firm. He enrolled at Harvard University, determined to pursue knowledge and experiences that acting alone couldn't provide. The decision reflected a rare level of maturity for someone so young, choosing a path that prioritized long-term growth over immediate fame. During this period, Jonathan also carefully selected acting projects, appearing only sporadically in films like Tom and Huck, and lending his voice to other animated features. He wanted to maintain a presence in the industry, but refused to let it dominate his life. The world saw fewer of him, but those close to Jonathan understood that he wasn't disappearing because of scandal or disinterest. He was taking control of his life, away from the cameras and expectations. This sudden retreat fueled endless speculation. Some fans assumed he had grown tired of Hollywood, while others believed he was hiding personal struggles. In truth, Jonathan was navigating a complicated phase, transitioning from teen star to adult, from public figure to private individual. It was a delicate balance that required courage and foresight. Looking back, Jonathan Taylor Thomas's choice to step away from fame was a turning point. While many child actors stumbled during this period, he displayed remarkable wisdom by prioritizing his mental, emotional, and educational development. The boy who once made millions laugh as Randy Taylor was growing into a young man determined to define success on his own terms. After leaving Home Improvement, Jonathan Taylor Thomas began a chapter of his life that few fans got to see. While the world had pegged him as a teen heartthrob, Jonathan was quietly stepping into adulthood on his own terms, choosing a life far removed from the pressures of Hollywood fame. For him, the goal wasn't to chase money, recognition, or roles. It was to explore personal growth, education, and independence. One of the most defining steps in this transition was his enrollment at Harvard University in 2000. Choosing Harvard was no accident. Jonathan had long expressed a deep interest in history, literature, and culture. and he wanted an education that would challenge him intellectually and broaden his perspective. College offered him the chance to live a relatively normal life, attending classes, studying with peers, and forming friendships that weren't based on celebrity. For a young man who had grown up constantly in the public eye, this anonymity was both rare and invaluable. During his time at Harvard, Jonathan deliberately limited his acting projects. He appeared occasionally, but only when the role truly resonated with him or offered a meaningful challenge. He also spent time traveling and exploring interests outside of acting, from sports and outdoor activities to literature and art. Friends and classmates described him as approachable, humble, and surprisingly down-to-earth, a stark contrast to the larger-than-life persona he had portrayed on television. While Jonathan's retreat from Hollywood fueled speculation, the truth was far from dramatic. He wasn't fleeing scandal or facing a career crisis. He was simply living life on his own terms. His decision to step back reflects a level of maturity rarely seen in former child stars. Many young actors struggle with identity and purpose after early fame, but Jonathan took control of his narrative, focusing on growth, education, and experiences that would enrich his life beyond the screen. Even though he was out of the spotlight, his legacy remained strong. Home improvement reruns kept him in the hearts of fans, and his earlier film and voice work continued to showcase his talent. Social media and fan communities would later celebrate him as one of the few child stars who managed to navigate fame without scandal or tragedy, maintaining dignity and authenticity throughout the transition. By stepping away, Jonathan Taylor Thomas also quietly set an example for other young actors. He demonstrated that it's possible to prioritize personal fulfillment over external expectations, to value education and growth over instant gratification, and to reclaim control over a life that once belonged to the cameras and public opinion. In the years following his departure, Jonathan remained largely private, surfacing only occasionally for interviews or to select projects. Yet the message was clear. Fame is temporary, but the choices you make for yourself can shape the rest of your life. He proved that leaving Hollywood doesn't mean losing relevance. It means choosing a path that aligns with your values, passions, and goals. In the years after Harvard, Jonathan Taylor Thomas took deliberate steps to shape a life that was entirely his own. Unlike many former child stars who struggled with fame's after-effects, Jonathan managed to find balance and purpose, choosing a path that emphasized privacy, education, and personal fulfillment over public attention. He had learned early that Hollywood's spotlight could be fleeting, and he wanted a life that wasn't dictated by cameras, tabloids, or fan expectations. Jonathan's career during this period was selective. He appeared in a few television projects, including guest spots and voice roles, but he avoided large-scale media attention. He also pursued further studies and explored interests that had little to do with acting. History, literature, and cultural studies became central to his intellectual life. Friends described him as thoughtful, introspective, and remarkably grounded, qualities that had always been present, but were now fully cultivated. He was no longer just the boy who played Randy Taylor. He was a young man making conscious choices about who he wanted to be and what he valued most, though his absence from Hollywood sparked endless speculation and rumors. Jonathan handled it with characteristic discretion. Unlike many child actors who experience public meltdowns or career spirals, he maintained dignity and focus. His rare public appearances became significant events for fans, who were thrilled to see glimpses of the young star they had grown up loving, now mature and composed. Yet, he remained careful not to let fame define him, consistently prioritizing his personal growth and the quality of his work over the quantity. This conscious withdrawal also allowed him to reconnect with life outside of Hollywood. He traveled, cultivated friendships, and explored hobbies and passions that had been impossible during his years of intense filming. Jonathan discovered the joys of normalcy, casual weekends with friends, quiet family time, and the satisfaction of pursuing knowledge for its own sake. In interviews, when he occasionally opened up, he expressed gratitude for the opportunities he had had as a young actor, while emphasizing that the lessons learned outside of fame had been even more valuable. Jonathan Taylor. Thomas's story is a rare example of a child star successfully navigating the transition to adulthood without losing himself. His journey underscores an important lesson. Sometimes stepping away from the spotlight isn't a retreat. It's a strategic choice for long-term happiness, stability, and personal growth. He didn't need constant recognition or public approval. He had the confidence and insight to shape his own path. Today, Jonathan remains a figure of nostalgia and admiration, a symbol of talent, intelligence, and maturity. Fans who grew up with him continue to celebrate his early work, while those who follow his rare appearances see a man who has truly found peace and fulfillment. The boy who once stole hearts as Randy Taylor has grown into someone who knows that true success is measured not by fame, but by the life you create for yourself. Today, Jonathan Taylor Thomas lives a life far removed from the chaos of Hollywood fame, but one that feels full and intentional. Though he rarely makes headlines, his name still evokes nostalgia for millions of fans who grew up watching him as Randy Taylor. Instead of chasing the spotlight, he focuses on a balanced life, combining selective acting projects with personal interests and education. Over the years, Jonathan has occasionally returned to television in small but meaningful roles. These appearances remind fans of the charm, wit, and talent that made him a household name, while showing that he has matured both personally and professionally. He is careful in choosing projects, prioritizing quality over quantity, and only committing to roles that resonate with him. This thoughtful approach allows him to maintain his privacy while still leaving a mark on the industry he once dominated. Away from acting, Jonathan has embraced opportunities to grow intellectually and personally. Friends describe him as grounded and introspective, someone who values knowledge, relationships, and experiences over fame or recognition. His time at Harvard, combined with years spent exploring life beyond the cameras, has shaped him into a man who understands that true fulfillment comes from living authentically, not from public approval. For fans, Jonathan's story is inspiring. He shows that leaving the spotlight doesn't mean fading away. It can mean reclaiming your life and shaping your own destiny. While the boyish charm that captivated audiences in the 90s remains part of his legacy, today's Jonathan Taylor Thomas is defined by wisdom, discretion, and the ability to find joy on his own terms. Ultimately, his journey reflects a rare kind of success, one measured not by awards or headlines, but by the peace, balance, and fulfillment he has cultivated. Jonathan Taylor Thomas may have stepped away from fame, but in doing so, he found something far more valuable: a life fully lived, quietly and intentionally.